The low silhouette appeared first as a shadow between burning hedgerows. Allied crews would often spot it too late. A silent shape resting close to the ground, waiting, immobile, patient. Then came the sudden flash, a clean muzzle blast, and another tank was disabled before its turret could even turn. This was the reputation of the StuG III, a machine that came to be feared not for brute force or size, but for efficiency and unsettling calm. How did a vehicle originally designed as an infantry support gun become one of the most effective tank killers of the Second World War? If you are fascinated by stories like this, make sure to like and subscribe. Many more true chapters of history are waiting ahead. The roots of the StuG III trace back to Germany's military thinking of the mid-1930s. The Army wanted a mobile artillery system that could accompany infantry, smashing fortified positions and strong points with direct fire. Unlike tanks, it did not need a rotating turret. Instead, engineers mounted a powerful gun into a low casemate on a tracked chassis, keeping the vehicle compact, easier to conceal, and cheaper to manufacture. Daimler-Benz was chosen to develop the project using the reliable Panzer III frame, resulting in the first production models of the Sturmgeschütz III entering service in 1940. Early versions carried a short-barreled 75mm gun optimized for high-explosive shells against bunkers and machine gun nests. During the campaigns in France and the Balkans, the StuG III performed exactly as intended, creeping forward alongside infantry, firing at close range with notable accuracy. Crews appreciated its low height, less than 2 meters, which made it harder for enemy gunners to detect than standard tanks. Commanders soon recognized that this humble vehicle offered distinct tactical advantages. The turning point came on the vast Eastern Front. Facing increasing numbers of Soviet T-34s and heavy KV tanks, German forces found many of their existing weapons insufficient. The answer was adaptation. From 1942 onward, the StuG III was rearmed with a long-barreled 75mm anti-tank cannon capable of penetrating the thick armor of the newest Allied tanks. Almost overnight, the infantry support gun evolved into something far more lethal, a dedicated tank destroyer disguised in a compact, low-profile form. This change would define its legacy and set the stage for the vehicle's most formidable reputation. By late 1942, the StuG III had become a cornerstone of German defensive tactics. Unlike heavy tanks that maneuvered aggressively, StuG units specialized in ambush warfare. They selected concealed firing positions along forest edges, behind rubble, or within natural terrain folds. From these vantage points, they could strike advancing armor with devastating first shots before quickly shifting position. Statistics cemented the vehicle's growing fame. German wartime records credit StuG III units with tens of thousands of claimed armored vehicle destructions numbers rivaling or exceeding many turreted tank formations. While such figures varied in accuracy, Allied after-action reports consistently noted the effectiveness of well-placed assault guns. Crews trained to cooperate in small groups, covering multiple approaches and coordinating fire to overwhelm targets that might survive a single hit. The design also contributed greatly to operational success. Without a turret, the vehicle was mechanically simpler and cheaper than a standard tank, allowing Germany to produce more than 11,000 units, far exceeding the output of heavier armored vehicles. The StuG's low silhouette, combined with its reliable Maybach engine, meant it could move quietly into position, remain still for long periods, and retreat rapidly when threatened. Yet limitations existed. The fixed gun required drivers to turn the entire vehicle in order to track moving targets, demanding superior coordination between crew members. In offensive breakthroughs, turreted tanks proved more flexible. But in defensive combat, particularly across the plains of Ukraine, the ruins of Italy, and the hedgerows of Normandy, the StuG's strengths were unmatched. Allied tank crews came to recognize the telltale firing positions favored by StuG units, slight elevations with wide forward views and protected flanks. Many battlefield guides specifically warned of low-profile enemy vehicles that could remain invisible until firing. The psychological impact of these unseen threats became almost as significant as their practical battlefield damage. The success of the StuG III was inseparable from the men who served inside its tight armored compartment. Typically operated by a four-man crew commander, gunner, loader, and driver, each role demanded precision coordination. Visibility was limited. Communications relied on shouted commands or radio discipline, and reaction times were critical. Training emphasized patience over aggression. Crews learned to identify terrain that offered concealment and escape routes. Engagement doctrine focused on firing only when a kill was likely, conserving ammunition and minimizing exposure. Coordinated tactics between multiple StuGs created intersecting fields of fire, allowing them to control large sections of battlefield terrain with relatively small numbers. One of the most celebrated units was the StuG Brigade 184, active on the Eastern Front and credited with thousands of enemy vehicle kills. Similar assault gun brigades became elite defensive formations, distinguished by strict tactical adherence rather than flamboyant maneuver. The crews themselves described the experience not as relentless combat, but as long hours of waiting punctuated by brief moments of decisive action. Technological improvements continued late into the war. Additional armor plates were welded onto hull fronts. Mesh shirts and skirts were added to protect against shaped charge weapons. Improved optics increased target identification ranges. Even as Germany's strategic situation deteriorated, production lines kept rolling, proving how vital the StuG III had become to battlefield planning. Despite operating until the very end of the conflict, the StuG III never enjoyed the mythic status of famous heavy tanks or iconic commanders' vehicles. Yet historians increasingly recognize it as one of the most pragmatic weapons of the war, a machine defined by function rather than symbolism. It demonstrated how adaptation could transform a design beyond its original purpose, answering changing battlefield demands with simplicity and effectiveness. Post-war evaluations by Allied analysts highlighted the assault gun's cost-effectiveness and production efficiency, lessons that continue to inform armored vehicle design philosophies today. Modern doctrines still emphasize low profiles, concealed firing positions, and cooperative engagements, all traits exemplified decades earlier by the StuG. Looking back, the story of the StuG III is not merely about technological innovation or battlefield success. It reflects how warfare often rewards not the grandest inventions, but those that quietly evolve to meet reality as it unfolds. History reminds us that progress does not always come from bold new dreams sometimes. It grows from disciplined adjustments to what already exists. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, subscribe, and enable notifications to make sure you never miss another true story from history.